So the elbow, we were test fitting it. It has, this is for the sound hose we deleted. So it comes with a cap. You just slide it over. It's good to go. It won't, it's vacuum, so it's going to hold it. You have 2 holes here and then you have 1 hole here. If you don't use the 18 up hose for the brake booster, you plug this. There is a plug over there, so that's probably what that's for. But since he bought that hose, you'll use this adapter, threads in here, and then it'll attach to the hose. You have this one that threads into here, and then you also have this little guy that'll thread into here. And you just snug them down. It's not super tight. So I don't know. I've just been just the way I do things. I'm going to put a little thread sealant tape on it. Being air and not liquid, I don't really know if you're supposed to or you have to. But I have it. I'm going to do it. I mean, it can't hurt. It'll make me feel better about it. So you just give her the old thread in and we'll get a wrench and snug her up. All right, so 15 will work on this, open-ended. You just kind of put it on the flats. It doesn't have to be super tight. Remember, it's you can just kind of snug it up. You'll feel it get tight. It is a metal insert glued practically into a plastic hole. So you don't want to do it. I used the 15 on the small one. The big one is definitely bigger. Wow, okay, it's way bigger than I thought it was. All right, so as you look, so 21 will work if it's a little loose, but it'll work. Open end only, apparently. Just get it tight, get it snug. Oh, damn, hit the camera. I'll delete that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be overly tight, just tight. So to regroup, 15, open end, flat edges, 21, flat. This one's tiny. Now this one's plastic. This one looks like a normal fitting, even though probably doesn't matter. I'm still putting this stuff on. It's a little more difficult because you have the hose dangling off the edge. Yeah, apparently I don't know what I'm doing. Wow. Really don't know what I'm doing. This one goes in here. Get it in. I mean, it's plastic, so be careful. Don't want to strip it. Now, this one has a hose on it, so you should probably be able to tighten this pretty much by hand. Yeah, just get it in. Get it snug. And then kind of get it where you need it. It goes into here, so probably what I'll do is connect that, and then it just kind of does its thing. Okay, just kind of does its thing. All right. Now, while we have this here, I'm sure probably a lot of guys out there already know this. So this is a 15, so he bought the intake for the 15 to the 17, but when you put the factory or the 18 plus, the snout is curved up a little more, so this sticks up higher. You need like a 45. So what I'm gonna do is I'll angle it down and get it tight on the throttle body, and I'll angle it down. It'll be fine. There's gonna be a little gap here, but if it'll be tight enough, it'll be fine. But I'm gonna recommend to him, and I already told him about it, so we'll probably order it at a later date and get, I mean, that's simple to swap out. Get like a 45 boot that angles down, that matches this diameters for the intake and throttle body. That way he can angle it down better. But I mean, it'll be all right. Once everything's tight, it'll be good to go. Okay, supposedly you got to relocate the horn. Is my battery ratchet over there? Oh, yeah, it is. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can feel it in between the horn. It feels like there's an 8 mil right there between them. Extension, swivel. Make sure your ratchet's on loosen, not tighten. One bolt. And there's like a little tab that sticks up here. Pull that, set that out of the way for now. All right. So after some instruction reading, which I'm sad to admit that I had to read the instructions. If you look in here, we have the bracket that holds the filter and stuff in. It uses the factory push pin for the wiring harness in this hole. It goes through the bracket. And then there's the factory bolt that holds that there. And then on the horn, after being confused for a little bit, you actually have to take, there's two 10mm nuts, one on each stud that have this bracket. And this is what it holds the car to in factory. And then what you do is you can take this, I'll get this installed and then I'll show you what I meant here, because it's kind of hard to get the camera in here at the same time. Yeah, but it's like, all right, as you can see, don't really care for this, but you take the horn bracket off, you stick the studs through the holes on the bracket that holds the air filter. Factory connector plugs right in, you just tighten those nuts down, it's good to go. I mean, it's kind of really close to there. It kind of rubs the fog light housing. I mean, it's just the way they do it. It is what it is. You could bend it down a little more. We'll get everything, tweak everything once we're in here. I mean, it kind of holds itself there. All right, next is the air filter. All right, so I'm learning, because I've never installed one of these intakes yet, really. I'm learning something new here. So there's a bracket that goes here, sort of bracket, whatever you want to call it. Looks like this. This is the correct orientation. I didn't really find any pictures, as you can see, the angles. So if you look down here, you can kind of see. Let me get some light. You have a factory harness that runs, and there's a push pin right here, Christmas tree thing. Take that out. And then once you do that, this will fit in here, and it sits over this harness and goes there. And then this goes, it's kind of, you got to finagle around this wiring harness. So it kind of goes like that, and then this will fold up in here, and then there's a push pin you put in here and then down there. But the trick of it is you got to do it with this tube kind of already installed, because you can't install this tube once. Plot her down in the hole here. All right, let's install this. The kit comes with 2 new Christmas trees, push pins, whatever you want to call them. So you got to finagle it around the harness. Push pin it. And then this goes here. There's a little hole in the body. This goes here. You just give her the old, good to go. Then you got to feed, assuming this mass airflow sensor wire, because the way it looks down below, it goes like that, and you kind of just feed it in there. I might cut that off later. And then you give her the old college try. Like that, right?
Yep.
All right, and then you just kind of just shove it all together here. In a generic way, and then you just do that. And then you leave everything loose because you're gonna have to finagle everything around. Rotate pipes and all that. But, you know, we'll get to all that in a minute. That's pretty much what it looks like up here. We'll finagle it here in a second. But now we gotta go back down below. All right, back. Here we are. So, recap. As you can see behind me, it is now daylight. I don't know if you noticed in the beginning of the video, it was dark out. So me and Colin started this project late last night, got on a little later. I was busy with other side work yesterday. Some of it snowballed and taken longer. Michaela came after we bled her clutch the other week, and she drove her car, so that's good to go. So that's good news. Unfortunately, I won't have any videos on ripping the clutch out of that, but that's good news for her because, one, I don't have to worry about getting it done for cruise week because now she can go to cruise week. And two, it was just bleed the clutch. I had the fluid here, no parts, no labor, nothing. So it works out both sides of the spectrum for that. So I got started on the Mustang way later than I wanted to. So we got the intake manifold on, as you see in the beginning of the video. And that was pretty simple. I mean, that was pretty straightforward besides rerouting the hoses and the purge valve a little bit. You got to tweak a little bit of that, But we started installing this PMAS, as you'll see, fender well intake. And I will touch base more on the end of the video. I'm going to talk about the parts that I installed and how I like them. But I was fighting it. It was getting late. It was like almost 11 p.m. here. So I looked at Cullen and I said, let's do this. Let's go and get some rest, regroup, come back. I had to, which I will talk about in a couple minutes, improve this intake a little bit to get it to work. But we got it. It's about 99% installed. I got to mess with the crankcase breather lines and everything. And then there's one of these threaded nipples that threads into the intake, but I think we don't need that anymore because we installed the updated newer 18 plus brake booster hose. So we deleted a hose. We reused the hose on the intake manifold nipple, the one that we capped. We used that, but then I think we have to cap the one on the intake tube because we no longer need that. But I'll show you what I have done so far. I did install the catch can and talk about what I did and how I made it work. And then we'll get that all back together, finalized, and then we'll move on to the exhaust. So this has been a weird install. Supposedly this is the best intake tube to get for IATs and performance-wise. But I can tell you out of the very many that I installed, this was the worst intake tube and filter assembly that I've ever installed. But let's start with the intake manifold, the catch can, and then we'll move on to that. All right, as you can see, there's the engine bay. The intake's pretty much in. I got to finalize some other stuff. But manifold, I covered that pretty well, so we'll kind of skip that. But the catch can down here, UPR catch can, you kind of see it there. So they have you loosen this panel. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I tend to overdo things sometimes. So I took this entire panel off. It makes getting here, because this plastic covers here, there's like a big hole here because of the way the frame or the rad support goes. And then it makes everything getting down there. There's a 10 mil you got to take out. And then you got to put their bracket in, tighten it down, put that down. And then just run your hoses. Very simple install, actually. This is probably the only thing that actually went really, really well on this entire project so far. What I recommend doing is when you put the bracket in, leave it kind of loose so you can twist it a little bit to line everything up. But there's 2 Allens here on top of the catch can. Let me get the size real quick to help you all out. I used a 5/32 Allen. Loosen those screws, and then you can clock this because it's kind of hard to see. There's one nipple down here and then the one straight up here. So you can clock it however you need to get the hoses to route properly. And then obviously the bottom nipple runs to the intake manifold for vacuum. Then the other one runs from the crankcase to the top. The bottom one, as you can kind of see there, has a check valve. It's one way. Obviously this is vacuum, so it's sucking. You want the air pointing towards the engine, because if not, it won't work. It'll suck, but there will be no vacuum in this catch can. It'll be nothing. And then you just route the hoses however you want. I try to do it as clean as possible. The top one here, I had it routed up this way, and I took 2 pictures. I like this way better. It's cleaner. It's kind of less sticky out-ish. It doesn't look out of place like the other hose was like way up here out of place. But everything else looks good. I mean, we'll finalize everything once it's done. But now I'm going to put it up in there, and I'll talk about all the pains I had with the intake. And then I'll stop there. I'll get the front end completely back together. I took the lower valance off and all that other stuff. And then we'll move on to the exhaust, which should be a decently easy process with these cars. So, see, it comes through the fender well. Actually, up top, I should have showed you what I did with the harness. But I will touch on that, and then I'll just edit the clip in. All right, I want to show you a quick update. I'll clip this in real quick. So the mass airflow sensor harness comes up here, and there's actually a little hole right here in the plastic for a push pin. So I popped that out, and then before I put this push pin in the top of that intake plate that goes here to cover the hole, I actually shove the harness up under here behind that plate, and it comes down here. It's kind of hard to see. And it goes down behind the plate right there. And then that way you have enough slack in the harness to get to the mass airflow sensor, and it cleans it up real well. There's not like a harness just laying everywhere. Besides that, there you go. I mean, everything's pretty much back together. So let's get this exhaust done. Mass airflow sensors here. This is very important. They tell you this. So the instructions with this thing are terrible. To install these are terrible. Like, it's a couple words in a little paragraph sentence for like each step. It says reference pictures all the time. There's no pictures. We looked online. The pictures online don't really match what this is. So I don't know if they updated the kit. They didn't change the pictures. Well, I don't know. Putting this on was horrible. This coupler here between the intake tube and the mass airflow housing was like barely even big enough. I don't even know how it got over there. Is it great because it's going to be tight and not fall off? Yes. Also has clamps. That's what holds it on. So either way, I mean, it's on there and it works for functionality. I'll give for functionality, apparently this has a 10 out of 10 because like it's the best intake on the market. But installing this is horrible. There's a bracket here that you can kind of see. It's some metal. The air filter has these studs in it, and then they go up through the mass airflow housing, which is sandwiched between this bracket. Well, I was slowly tightening those last night, and those studs started pulling out of the air filter. A horrible design. So that's where we stopped it. I ended up going home, filling these holes with glue, super glue, and shoving the studs back in and letting them sit overnight for a while. I mean, it was like 12 hours or something-ish that they dried. And then when I got here, I slowly tightened these with a wrench by hand off the car. And I even took a pair of pliers and grabbed the studs so they wouldn't spin. And be very, very careful with this. I mean, very careful with this. You'll pull it out. They don't tell you to, but this lower belly pan here under the front valance, I took that out. You can go straight up with the filter instead of trying to angle it all cattywampus in there. Getting the bracket in, I mean, it's kind of a pain, but you can wiggle it in there and do it. And then I'll show you what I did. The horn hits the fog lights. Like, that's what makes it kind of hard too. You got to relocate the horn. That's the point of this bracket. It holds the filter and intake tube, but you can kind of see them. I'll get a better picture here in a second. You got to relocate the horn on this car, and that is another adventure in of itself. So let's get the car up higher. said some light on the situation. So as you can see here, the horn bracket, it hits this fog light. Well, it's not right now because I tweaked it. But when you originally install this bracket, it slides up into the frame up here. There's a little hook that catches, and then you can see the clip just above my finger there. And the factory bolt holds it in. There's a push pin for the harness, and then you got to wiggle the harness down here, plug it in. Once you install this, it's kind of hard to do. That's why I took this lower thing on so I can go straight up. It just rubs right here and just pushes. Sorry for the shadows. And you can't really get it lined up. So I got it close, and then I tweaked it. I moved this and bent this and twisted the bracket. It's very thin aluminum, I'm assuming. So it clears. So it doesn't hit. I mean, it works now, but install was a pain in the butt. I can tell you that. But it works. I mean, it's in now. I just had to tweak it a lot. I probably just blinded you, but I'll clip that out. But yeah, I mean, it's in there. You have to tweak the mass airflow sensor harness to shove it in. I'll show you what I did there in a second. But like that intake was the worst part of this job so far. Like everything else has been fine. But now we'll move on to the exhaust. And as you can see, try to get a good picture. It's all one piece really. So you unbolt it from here. Oh, that was terrible. Unbolt it from those clamps, and then it's all one piece all the way back. And then the new one's in pieces, and you put it together. But so it's not really a very hard concept. But hey, the way this project's going, who knows what's going to happen? But let me get some. I'm going to get everything finalized up top, and wheel on, wheel liner in, the lower valance belly pan back on. Get that pretty much 100% done, and then we'll move on to the exhaust. All right, so as you can see, we got the MBRP cap back installed. I faulted a little bit. You gotta tweak it left and right to get it to line up good and fit. It's really not that hard, but it's tedious. And you got it, because you got, on the factory exhaust, as you can see over here, it's all one piece. There's two clamps here, and then the entire thing is one piece. You don't really have to mess with anything. It just goes in. You got two hangers in the middle, and then you got a hanger on each muffler, and it's simple. I mean, those hangers I'll show you real quick. Two middle ones right here, it's two 13s here. And then the ones on the mufflers, there's a 13 that's straight down, very easy to get to, and then there's a 13 up here. The spare tire wheel well's in the way, but with a 3/8 Milwaukee ratchet and a 13 swivel, it comes right out. So you take them off, you unbolt these two on each side, and then the whole exhaust drops down. These two clamps here are factory, retain them. So they got these little tabs right here that you gotta lift up because there's a nipple in the cat pipes that hold them there orientation wise. So if you don't lift them up, when you try to tap them back to get the cat back to disconnect, it won't work. You just gotta lift this tab up a little bit, and it's something. Save those clamps. So tap them with a hammer to get them to slide back, but don't destroy them because you reuse them. And then you just put everything in. The MBRP, they have a pipe here and a pipe here that is separate than the H pipe, and then obviously clamps. Everything's 15 millimeters except for the bracket bolts are 13s. It's not a bad install, just tedious because you got all these joints so everything can rotate, and to get it set up right and angled right to get the tips lined up, I think it looks good. So I guess we'll get the tune loaded now, and then we'll give her the first fire up and see what it sounds like.